Good evening, everybody. It is the 7th of February, 2026, y'all. What a day. This is Spencer Keck with the Hillbilly Think Tank. I'm the educated hillbilly. That's not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. Y'all, I'm coming at you live from Tunnel Hills, Kentucky, where we are dedicated to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, it is now, as I said, the 7th of February. So that's 7 days now that we've been going strong with Freedom from Fascism February. You know, talk about how Scott Galloway has the unsubscribe and resist site, and he's been calling for unsubscribing from fascist corporations. Well, the one that I'm calling out the most is Amazon. They have so many corporate and government contracts, mainly it's the government contracts that we're worried about, where they're propping up the regime, you know, with Blue Origins, with Audible, Prime, Amazon Prime, that is, Prime Music, Prime Video. You know, man, what is it that they're not into? What convenience are we not, you know, sucking the tit off of with Jeff Bezos? You know, we think now that our life is supposed to be so convenient in the modern age, and yet we are not being convenient when it comes to helping ourselves rid ourselves from fascists unless we unsubscribe from Amazon. Give them a taste of it for at least 1 month. And it turns out it's working. Amazon stocks are down. Now, of course, I'm not saying this is because of me and the movement that I've called for, because I know Scott Galloway is the one who originally started talking about this, but right at the same time he decided to make a website about it, I decided mine was going to be Amazon. He actually, if you go watch him, has unplugged from a lot of these big corporations, and because he is a multimillionaire, they are upset and they're talking to him about it. So we've got to do it. If we really believe in a life dedicated to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we can't do it if we're under the thumb of authoritarian government. That they're incompatible, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, incompatible with authoritarianism. Now, y'all, as someone who has served this country since I was 18 years old, whether it be in the military or working the VA like I did after that, and until I then decided, hey, I want to come back to my home state of Kentucky and started teaching. You know, I've been a public school teacher now for quite some time. I know that nothing is better for the soul than serving our neighbors, loving our neighbors as ourselves. You know, life just soaked in service, there's nothing better. But we are dying from convenience. We have this whole idea. Look back at the convenience of your grandma's iron skillet not being good enough for her daughter, for our moms, for our wives, you know, because the iron skillet, oh, you had to scrape it clean. Oh, food particles can stick to it. That's inconvenient. So what do? We bought into this whole idea that Teflon would make life easier and more convenient. Teflon would keep our food from sticking to the pan as we cooked, keep it from sticking to the pan as we washed our pans. And what do we have now? PFAs, right? In all of our water, all of our soil worldwide. Well, just because we wanted convenience. And it turns out that those fluorinated compounds, those PFCs, are actually in the Teflon, they're killing us. And they're everywhere, but they're killing us with convenience. We're killing ourselves with convenience. We are allowing ourselves to lose our life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for convenience of not upsetting oligarchs that run the corporations that donate to our grifter in chief. What's another convenience that's been killing us that we all buy into? Oh, yeah, that's the idea that drinking bottled water is better for us and more convenient than just going to the tap and getting a cup and filling it up, or getting a canteen, filling up a metal canteen and carrying it with you to work or wherever you go, so you have water at all times if you don't trust your drinking source at work. You know? But they sold us this idea that theirs is safer and more convenient. What did it turn out? Turns out now, yeah, while plastic bottles aren't necessarily inherently dangerous, for immediate and emergency consumption, it turns out that long-term daily consumption gives us high levels of microplastics and microparticles that leach into the water and everything that we use. What does that do? That causes inflammation in our bodies. That leads to cancer, leads to all kinds of problems. Think about what happens when those plastic microparticles get into your brain, right? And yet we bought into this convenience. We got to have it. And that's the PFAs that are contaminating us in these microplastic particles. And it turns out bottled water, in plastic bottled water that you buy, often has more bacteria than you'll find in your drinking water, in your municipal drinking water. But marketing is a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. And so what have we done? We've all bought into this convenience. Bought into first the fear factor. Oh, we shouldn't drink our tap water, which actually we have some of the safest drinking water in the world in our tap water. Yes, there have been places like Flint, Michigan, where they didn't care about the poor people and they didn't take care of them. But overall, across America, our tap water is safer to drink. So they terrified us, got us buying the bottled water, made it a convenience for us. And now we're inconveniencing not just ourselves. We're not killing just ourselves with microplastics. We're killing our whole world. There are now plastic microparticles in all the soil. All of our streams, including creeks, rivers, lakes, and the biggest one of all, the ocean. We know we've got a floating plastic pile in the ocean that is larger than Texas and growing larger daily. All these plastics that get disposed of don't get disposed of properly, and they end up floating downstream all the way out into the ocean. So what are we killing ourselves with? Convenience. That convenience of having a plastic water bottle to carry with you and dispose of willy-nilly wherever you want to, wherever you are. Killing ourselves with convenience. So I'm saying this because I had someone say, I can't give up on Amazon. It's too convenient. We'll come back to that. We're willing to kill our democracy with convenience. What's another thing we're killing ourselves with convenience-wise? Well, ultra-processed foods, and we know it. We've got higher rates of obesity, higher rates of cancer, higher rates of inflammation, all types of maladies that we didn't have 50 years ago before ultra-processed foods came to be dominant in our food supply. Now, do you find this as much in countries like Europe and Japan and other Asian countries? No, they don't partake of the amounts of ultra-processed foods that we do. But, these frankenfoods, they are chemically engineered for a longer shelf life, and they have these craveability factors that provide for our craves rather than giving us nutrition. So think about, one of my favorites. Very convenient for me a lot of times just to go grab a frozen pizza. That's one of my favorites. But other people like microwavable meals, processed meats, sugary cereals, sugary sodas, and all these things have increased our premature deaths, type 2 diabetes, keep on going down the line. We're killing ourselves with convenience. So again, I point this out because I was told by a friend that if he quit Amazon and Jeff Bezos, like I'm urging everyone to do just for February, that, oh, it would just be so inconvenient, more inconvenient than it would be helpful to him. Well, you know what? Since 2005 to 2015, we've bought into the idea that our lives will be harmed if we don't buy everything we want, and more importantly, everything that we don't need but want. We don't buy those things from Jeff Bezos. Oh, our lives would be marred, or they'd be inconvenienced, right? If we don't keep on using Amazon's monopoly and we give up this universal convenience of just Jeff Bezos providing everything for us, no matter where we are, then our lives would take a turn for the worse. But if it's just too inconvenient for us to give up fascism, and we can't give up on Jeff Bezos and make him feel the pain of authoritarianism and the fact that we don't want it anymore, and we want him to quit letting his tit being sucked on by a fascist leader, then we're going to slide deeper and deeper into this authoritarianism, and we're not going to be able to get out of it. Now, everybody thinks, oh, we'll be able to shoot our way out of it. We'll go to a civil war and we'll just kill the oligarchs. Really? The oligarchs, if you haven't been watching, they have yachts. They have their own jet planes, their own air forces. They'll leave the country in a heartbeat as soon as a civil war breaks out. Or they'll go into their bunkers because they've been buying land all over Tennessee, even a little bit of Kentucky and the border, to start their own private towns and cities. They'll go literally underground. You think you're going to be able to touch that? Really? That we're going to be able to take everything over by armed force? No. Well, if you want to make it come to that, and you want to have to watch your kids run and hide from the neighbors that turn them in, you go for it. I would rather go with the inconvenience that's happened to me by unplugging from Amazon for 1 full month. I might even go more, but I'm definitely going to go for Freedom from Fascism February. His stocks have already plummeted. He's already feeling it. We're only at day 7. You don't think that that's what makes fascists really fear the populace? You're wrong. They only care about their pocketbooks. As soon as we hit their pocketbooks, that's the real protest. It won't be with placards in the streets on weekends that gets their attention. It won't even be from bullets. That doesn't get their attention. They have their own private bodyguards by the droves. Yeah, they'll let us kill our neighbors, start a civil war. They won't care. They own their own islands. So if you really want to make a fucking difference, get on your fucking keyboard and do something that'll actually fucking matter for this nation. And then once you unplug, go out and help your neighbor by buying from their shops in town. Take the time, go speak to your neighbor and buy their fresh fruit at the farmer's market. Go down to their restaurant, sit down with your friends and family like we used to, instead of just doing Uber's DoorDash. You think Uber is not helping this oligarchy and it's not part of this whole system? You're wrong. Go out and buy your own food, cook it at home. Or if you're going to go want something that you don't cook, go yourself. Take your family, meet other people, be a part of the community, right? It's going to take us taking it back with our dollars, not being given to the billionaires anymore. We already know, we've seen this once if you studied history at all. We know of the robber barons. We know what it took to get rid of the robber barons. What did it take? Well, number one, it took someone from their own midst turning on them. That happened to be Teddy Roosevelt. He started breaking up the monopolies. And that cost him his political career, which had been great up to that point, because they thought, oh, he was just one of them and he would not rock their boat. He had a history of doing things that were in their interests. But that's not how it ended up in the end. His cousin, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, also could have become an authoritarian. Times were as bad or worse, of course, than they are now. But he didn't. He gave the power back to the people and started programs that were geared towards helping the people. Only way to get back there is if we ourselves bust up the monopoly of Jeff Bezos and other oligarchs. Because these robber barons, they know that they are baked into the system right now. So what we got to do, get out of that system and start baking our own stuff. Start interacting with our neighbors. It's simply up to us. The phone's not going to do it for you. Amazon's not going to do it for you. The more we're terrified of our neighbors, the more we don't speak to our neighbors, the worse this becomes. But once you start buying local and get off of Jeff Bezos's tit, the quicker this will end. It's the only way for it to end without bloodshed. And this bloodshed, if it comes, will not help any of us. We've already seen it come. We've already seen what happened to Good and to Preddy and to the Moors, not just them that they've shot. So y'all, all right. Sorry for my rant and ramble, but it's serious times that we live in. And we've seriously got to inconvenience these guys. All right, and it's working. So who do we got on here tonight? All right, Coffee Cats. Good to see you here. Coffee Cat says, hello, Spencer and Casper. Yeah, Casper is off chasing the other dogs right now. I'd have him on there. Ding, good to see you there, Ding. Hope you're having a great weekend. Ding says, hey, Mr. Cat. All right, Steve. Steve says, did you see Amazon stock drop 10% last week due to AI reality kicking in? Exactly. I sure did. That's what we were talking about. Let's make it drop further. That will hit Bezos where it counts. Copycat says, I'll take unwanted iron skillets. Me too. I'm using my cast iron skillets all the time. To me, the food tastes better than it did with Teflon. One quick Teflon story. So my brother and I were both in the military. He was off in training. His wife was staying with me while she was pregnant. She came home one day from work, put on a pot of water and potatoes to boil. This pot was Teflon lined. I took a quick nap because I just got back from work and I had to study that night. I was training, doing some medical study. All of a sudden, I smell smoke in the house. I'm wondering what's going on. I go out my door, look to the right, living room. It was full of smoke. I go into the kitchen. She had gone to sleep, let the water boil over and the potatoes boil over. All the Teflon had burnt off of that pot. As I went to open all the doors and open the sliding doors, next to the sliding doors, they had a cage full of parakeets. All of their 9 parakeets, but 2 died. You know, that's the power of Teflon, the poison of Teflon. All right. Steve says, man, my wife is all about the cast iron skillets. If not that, stainless steel. No Teflon coating. That's it. Steve says, well water for the win. Right. So thing is, our well water, a lot of it now has these PFAs, these PFC, all those in them, because all this stuff has leached into our well water. So you got a good filter and good purifier. Yeah, well water is way to go. It's great. But again, just if you don't trust your city water, have it tested. Most cities will do that for free, or you can have someone do it. Find out, is there anything really wrong with it? You're going to find out most of the time, no, there's not. We've just been so sold on this idea that bottled water is the best, and it turns out it's not. You even seen, I think it was Dasani or Coca-Cola years ago, had to admit all they were selling people was tap water. They were filling it up with Atlanta's tap water and then reselling it back to us when Atlanta itself was having a drought. All right. Copycat says she agrees with Steve. Julia Sharp. Hi, hope you're doing well. Hey, Julia, doing pretty darn good. This is working. We just all have to work it more. Unsubscribe and resist. That's what this month's about. Thursday, got to go to chili cook-off, like I told you guys, with the local Hardin County Democrats. Man, that was a good time. Got to meet some great folks and have some great chili. So I'm still on, a little bit of cloud nine from that. Coffee cats, poor parakeets, and they were it was just so sad. I mean, to be honest, because those parakeets have been their awesome pets. My brother had raised two of them, not realizing one was male, one was a female. The male, he would just do all kinds of stuff, tricks and things, and it was really, 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 really good pet. They had laid 7 eggs and had 7 little babies. Yeah, such a tough thing. But that was my first sign of the dangers of Teflon, and that's before all the studies then came out, and the fact that DuPont had known this from the 40s, 50s, whenever it was they started doing the DuPont Teflon. When they started selling that to us, they knew it was causing birth defects in people that worked in their plant. Never told us, let us go all this time, killing us with convenience. So, final point, I just refuse to be killed with the convenience of Jeff Bezos, right? I am done buying balderdash from a balding billionaire Bezos. I'm not going to sell my freedom to him to line the pockets of himself and to keep this grifter in chief going. We want things to stop in Memphis and in Chicago, in Minnesota. We know that now they're heading to Boston to make it frosty up there. If we want to stop this, the only way is to unsubscribe from these billionaires that contribute to this guy who thinks he is Teflon Don still. All right, y'all. One last comment here. Yeah, Copycat says DuPont is really evil. Yeah, go talk to the folks in West Virginia where that first started at. Watch what it did to their cattle as that stuff leached into their water and started killing their cattle in horrible, horrible ways. Not just the folks, So how much of that are we eating when we eat animals that have that in their system? That's a question. But all right, y'all, remember, just buy local. So many great places here in Hardin County to go get great meals. You can just get really good stuff, quality things. You're helping your neighbor out. You're helping your own economy out, and you're keeping your money circulating in your neighborhood. That's what my papaw taught me. Papaw was a country doctor. And he always said, yeah, he could drive to Lexington or Louisville maybe to get a cheaper price on a car, but he would be hurting his patients that worked at the local car dealership just to save a nickel or two. Instead, he always bought locally everything he could. And if he couldn't buy locally, he thought he didn't need it. Mamaw might have bought something from a catalog, but if he couldn't buy it local, he wouldn't buy it. He decided he didn't need it. And he was from a small town America too, small town Kentucky. All right, y'all. Let's remember, in Kentucky, united we stand, divided we fall. We are our neighbors' best friends. We love our neighbors as ourselves. And we are our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper. Y'all, please like and subscribe there down the bottom. If you would, make some comments. That helps the algorithm. Got to get that out there, get the message out. And I'm running for Hardin County Magistrate, District 3. I would love your vote. My family has been serving this state and this nation for generations. I'm just looking for another way to serve longer and serve more and to take care of my neighbors. Have a great evening, y'all.
Are you cold? Are you cold? Oh my God.